Good morning, grinders. Welcome to DFS pregame show here on RotoGrinders. I'm Jordan Cooper, aka blenderhd, blenderhd. If you want to follow me on Twitter, and this is the show where we'll go a bit over yesterday's slate, last night's slate. Not that much late news yesterday. Kind of a change of pace, and then we talk a little bit about today's slate. Go through some stuff in the lineup HQ here on RotoGrinders. Answer your questions, strategy questions. I mean, we got a big slate today. We don't know what the hell's going to go on. I say this every day. We don't know. Anything that I say now may not matter 3 hours from now, 6 hours from now. So your strategy questions are much appreciated for the purpose of this show. If you're in the YouTube chat, I see you guys there. Daniel Hutchins, Meat Plow, DJ Cicero, Jupocalypse, FF Assassin, Superman is in chat. Superman. Dustin Hogue, Card Fan, Dario Rosenstock, Tim Maragni, Zach Hobbs. We got a whole bunch of people there. And even Eli. Eli's participating in the chat. Give him some claps. He has the Guinness World Record for clapping. So give him some claps and give him the clap if you want in the chat. And obviously, I got my apple juice here. It's still cold. Keep it cold throughout the show by hitting that thumbs up button. Thumbs. It helps us out, apparently. The YouTube algorithm. Hit the thumbs down button. Who cares, right? Someone's already done that. So I don't think YouTube algorithm doesn't even care. As long as you press any type of button. And just tap around the screen. It doesn't matter. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification bell to know when we go live in the morning. We got Invisible DFS here, and he won 100K on one of the sites. Was it Draftkings or Fanduel? I know I saw it in our RG Discord, right? Fast point scores, right? You won 100K last night, so one of the subscribers, I guess. I mean, whatever. I mean, you take the information, you do it, you have skill, you do it yourself, right? Look at the projections, and there you go. You have a nice little bink there, nice little bink 100K. Bink for fast point scores or invisible DFS or whatever you want to call yourself. Already going through. So we already got questions. It's fine. But the tangents here, there's no structure. I typically talk about yesterday's slate, then today's slate, but there's questions all over the place, right? So whatever you want. So just put it in the YouTube chat and we're fine. Yesterday in cash, it was going well until like Damian Lillard had to ruin me on FanDuel. So, because they scored a bunch of points in the point guard spot. So lost on FanDuel, lost on Yahoo, but won on DraftKings. So only lost not even 250 something bucks or something last night in cash, but still hovering around 18.6 now. We're getting resistance, right? If you're technical analysis in the stock market, it's like we're getting resistance at this like 21K profit area. Well, we're getting good support. We're getting good support at the 15K level. Okay. So it's we're bouncing up and down here. So we got another month and a half or so to get up. I mean, it's still going pretty good, right? $18,646. Pretty good return to almost double the bankroll. So that's doing pretty well. I see some questions in YouTube chat. Tim Aragni, good. Oh, good morning. You're. It's a rare treat to catch this live. Oh, okay. So we must watch later. You must watch later and see. Oh, we're all talking about Ty Jerome, and then he's not even. You don't even play him, right? Because all the news changes and it doesn't matter, right? Because what's the point of picking plays at this point? Dipping into MMA. Do you have any strategy advice on lineup HQ settings for rebuilding during the slate after lock? Well, you rebuild whatever lineups you want to rebuild. There's no settings. What settings are you talking about? If obviously projections will change, and if you're looking to jam guys in, you jam guys in. A lot of times when I'm rebuilding, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it as a very fine tool. I'm doing it as, oh, this guy is out, and I need to get as much of this other guy into my lineups as possible. And if I get like 88% of that guy, then give it to me, right? Because a lot of times, most times, anything after lock is going to be lower owned than they should be. So if you get news after lock that, like, let's say today, okay, I don't know if is there any news pending. I don't know. I'm just going to make up a scenario. Okay. So let's say we have, one of these like 8 o'clock games, right? Okay, because the lock is going to be at 7. We got 1, 2, 3, 4 games at 7. We got 1, 2, 3 games at 8, 2 games at 9, 1 game at 9:30. So this isn't that bad. But let's just say, I'm just making up a scenario that like Steph Curry just gets ruled out at like 7:45, right, for the Golden State Houston game, right? And Houston's already going to be shorthanded as it is, right? Because Oladipo's not going to play today. But let's say Curry gets ruled out. And it's like, okay, now I want Wiggins, Oubre, I want Warriors guys. So like in the rebuilding tool, like my goal isn't to be like fine-tuned. It's I got 15 minutes to make these changes. So it's like, okay, remove Curry from the pool and then jam as much of Wiggins and Oubre as possible. And I just wait for the projections to update. They're obviously going to come up really good plays. And then just if I had a bunch of Jokic on Denver in the late game, or Hayward or Luka, like I would obviously get less of them. But I mean, I wouldn't care as much about, well, the 12% Luka. How do I keep that? My priority is to jam as much of the late value as possible, because they're going to be so much under-owned than they should be if we knew this 6 hours before. If you knew Curry was going to be out 6 hours before, these guys would be owned. The other Warriors guys would be owned at efficient levels. But now they're not going to be. So my goal when it comes to rebuilding is to jam the value. Jam whatever late value shows up and then deal with the consequences later. Then whatever happens, happens. I think that's the best way to do it. You're going to get the most expected value out of guys that are going to end up being 18% owned when they should be like 54% owned. So I don't mind doing that. Now, there are ways to make more fine-tuned type of things, but, I mean, you'll have to work it just like you do lineup HQ before lock. Well, I'm not getting enough of this guy, and I'm not getting enough of that guy. My small forward is locked, so I can't play as much of that guy in a bunch of lineups. But most of the time, you don't have that much time, right? You're not sitting there for a half an hour, tweaking 100 lineups individually. It's more the fact of like, you take a look and you go, LaMelo Ball's out. And it's like, I got to jam in as much Rozier and Hayward and PJ Washington. And it's just like you add them, you put like 50% exposure and just say, give me as much as you can. I don't care how I have to get to it. Maybe sometimes you even have to leave a little bit more salary on the table and you just jam it in. I mean, I think to me, that's the best route to go instead of trying to fine tune stuff with the rebuilder, because you'll rarely have that much time. So the priority should be the high projected players that are now in play, going to be lower owned because it's after lock. Less people do late swap to get them in as much as possible. Then even caring about correlation, especially in NBA where it's so weak. Like in baseball, it doesn't even happen that much. Like you're not, this guy's out, I got to jam in everyone. Like that really doesn't exist in baseball. But like the correlations, I don't even care about in NBA. So if I jam in these guys and if I'm playing 2 of them in the same lineup, but I don't have enough time to worry about that. But you can set up a group. You're like, I don't want to play Oubre and Wiggins together. You set up a group and then you run the rebuilder. You could do that. But I don't think you should be focused on like the fine-tuned type of lineup building when you use the rebuilder. It's a blunt instrument. That's at least the way that I use it. If you could do it more fine-tuned, God bless you. But I mean, a lot of times you got 8 minutes, right? I mean, you're just sitting there going, Paul George is out at 4 minutes before the game locks, right? What are you going to do? I mean, I need to make sure I only get 12% and not 15%. No, screw that, right? You're like, how do I just jam in Reggie Jackson and Kawhi into as many lineups as possible? I just jam it in, download the CSV, upload it as quickly as possible, and then whatever. And then you look and you go, apparently I don't have any Luka now because I did that. And then so be it. And that's just the way it is. That's how I do it. I don't know. Are there more efficient ways of doing it? A lot of times you're dealing it with such short time frames. I don't know how you're gonna sit there and just itemize like 150 lineups one by one and make sure that it's perfect. I don't know if that's possible. I mean, I guess it's possible, but you got to be Superman. Maybe Superman's in the chat. Superman will tell us how to do it. Michael Papadopoulos. Hey, Jordan, is leverage something you could quantify? Do you try to do so? Is it just intuitive? Leverage is ownership. That's all leverage is. How much less ownership? How much projection are you getting for the less ownership? That's what leverage is. So it's quantified by ownership. I mean, we have Pone right now, projected ownership. I mean, as of 7:57 in the morning. Okay, so this all could change. So if I build 10 lineups, like we see that the top lineup right now on DraftKings, 284.22, and the cumulative ownership, the ownership sum, which isn't the be-all end-all, is 222. 224 for this one, 224 for that one, 222 for this one, 219, 217. So as it goes down, 217 would be more leverage. Technically, it's not leverage, but I mean, we use the term leverage. 220, 217, 214. So like this is like the range of like what cash game lineups will look like, what chalky lineups would look like. Who cares about the players? Let's not even talk about the players. Let's just talk about these two numbers, 284 and 222. Okay? So to get leverage, obviously you're going to have to sacrifice some projection. So now we want to, let's say we're playing single entry or something, smaller field. We don't have to sacrifice that much median. But we probably want to be less than this. So let's use a blunt tool and just use the max total ownership, which is just a blunt tool. It's nothing that let's put it at 200. So the max could be 200. So here's 197. So here's the top one under 200. 281, 280.61. The optimal is 284.22. So you're giving up about 3.5 points, and you're gaining about 20% total ownership, which is still like these are still high owned players based on our projected ownership. But this would be more like a single. This would be enough leverage for like a 400 person field, 500 entry type of field. But you could go down. You could play one of these lineups. There's 199, 280.43. Here's one with a 3% owned guy. So here's 190. You want to play this type of lineup. I don't know if you play Vassell and Eubanks together, but whatever. I mean, based on the numbers, this is what it is. Right now, I'm just going purely by the numbers, by our projections as of 7:57 in the morning, which don't mean anything. They're going to be updated. That's what leverage is. That's all this is. Let's say a larger field. Maybe we'd end up looking in the range of a 160. As a blunt tool, you would never really use it this way. And you go, okay, here's 275. So you're sacrificing about 9 points in projection. But look how much less ownership you're getting. Playing Claxton. Right? Who cares about the players? Don't worry about the players. You're like, okay, these are lineups that fit more larger field contests. Maybe you don't want to play Vassell and Eubanks together. Maybe you'd start making groups. You'd start fine-tuning the lineups. But this is what leverage is. That's all this is. This is how you quantify it. Ownership sum is not the best quantification of it, but it is a quantification. It's directionally correct. So you look here. Go, okay, here are more leveraged lineups. Now, when it comes to like direct leverage, which in basketball is a little bit weaker, much weaker, is you're playing someone that's negatively correlated to a chalky player. That would be like that's the proper use of leverage. That's technically the proper use of the term leverage. So, for instance, if we see that like Satoransky is owned, right? We have Satoransky and Porter and Jaylen Brown and Tyrese Halliburton, apparently highest owned. So Satoransky, let's go to Chicago. Who would be the most negatively correlated to Satoransky? I mean, probably Kobe White, but I mean, at these prices, this is ridiculous. I don't know how you play Kobe White off the bench for 26 minutes at 6,100. With Satoransky, I mean, obviously Satoransky's too cheap at 3,800. They haven't raised his price enough from starting now. But who takes away from him? Probably Zach LaVine. Right? Guard, taking shots. So you have some negative correlation with other people on his team. Markkanen 11.9% projected owned. So let's say if you didn't play Satoransky, consider playing LaVine in those lineups. Consider playing another Bull. You're not saying the Bulls don't do well. You're just saying that Satoransky just doesn't get there because someone else has benefited instead. I mean, Satoransky is a weird case because he's 3,800. It doesn't take much for him to get there. But it's more likely for the high-end guys. So we take a look here. Got Kevin Porter, 6,800. And Houston's going to be really shorthanded today. Right? We don't know. We don't even know the status of McLemore, House, and Christian Wood even. He could be back. But we take a look at his ownership and we go, okay, Porter and Brown, and then no one else. So direct leverage could be someone like Jayshawn Tate or Daniel House if he was in, or McLemore if he was in. KJ Martin, like someone else from the team. So that would be direct leverage. For who benefits when the chalk guy fails. So if you want to think in terms of that way instead of the ownership sum, that's one way to think about it. Or you could just not play him. I mean, like you get enough leverage by just like, I'm just not going to play Kevin Porter or Sterling Brown. Okay, you're done. You line up as leverage. To gain extra leverage, you play someone else on the team. It's very similar in baseball. Chalk pitcher, right? Some pitchers are going to be 40% owned on a 12-game MLB slate. Now, you could get leverage by not playing that pitcher and play someone else, right? You lose 40% of ownership in your lineup. You're done. Or you could stack against that pitcher. So you're not playing that pitcher and you're taking the batters who will be negatively correlated with that pitcher doing well. You gain more relative value. Do you have to do that? No, of course not. You could gain enough leverage by just fading the chalk pitcher. But if you want to gain even more, obviously the batters are going to be pretty low owned against the 40% owned pitcher. And you get that stack like cumulatively less than, I mean, it'll be like 2% each batter. And if that's the top stack of the day, you win. I mean, you're killing all the lineups with the 40% owned pitcher as well as shooting across everyone else because you have a 2% owned stack to win off. That would be more, that's more direct leverage, if you want to call it that. That's what leverage is. It's an ownership discount. Brandon Stinson, Blender, game stacking on a large slate. I'm assuming we're talking about basketball. Does it have less likely or more likely probability of working based on your experience? 6 players from 2 games, that type of 6 players from NBA has such limited correlation. It's weak correlation. Game stacking is not a thing. It depends on the pricing. It depends on stuff. But no, I don't go out of my way to game stack. Game stacking is more likely on smaller slates where there's less options. In basketball, on large slates, I don't even think about it. Now, if you have the decision in your lineup between 2 players and one is correlated to a game and one isn't, and they're close, lean to the side of the more correlated player. But to me, that's a tiebreaker type of situation. So, for instance, if you're going to try to decide for whatever reason between what stud I play in my lineup, is it going to be Giannis or is it going to be Nikola Jokic? You go, okay, should I play Giannis or Jokic? I can play whoever you want at that point. But if you're playing someone on Philadelphia in that lineup, side with Giannis. You assume that if the game stays close and goes over, each player plays maximum minutes, has done well, and they correlate with one another. Weakly, but they do correlate. If you're playing someone in Charlotte, let's say you're playing LaMelo Ball or Gordon Hayward or someone, Well, then play Jokic in that lineup. I mean, you could play Giannis if you want. I mean, you could. Not that big of a deal. But I'm more likely, if I'm going to play a bunch of Houston today, and I'm going to make, I have about 10K to play for a point guard, I'm more likely to play Steph Curry in a lineup that has Kevin Porter and Sterling Brown in it versus playing Russell Westbrook or Bradley Beal or Luka or something like that. That would be the game stack, but I'm not I'm not starting from the point of what game do I stack, right? How do I play 5 guys from the same game? The correlations aren't weakened. I mean, well, what happens if the game goes to overtime? Yeah, good luck predicting that. Good luck. Who knows? So no, I don't go out of my way to game stack. On smaller slates, sure. 3-game slate, I mean, you almost have to. 3-game slate, it's more beneficial to just say, I'm going to stack 1 game and hope the other 2 games are blowouts. So it's like, okay. Then you could take 5, 6 guys from the same game. Okay, then you could do it. In a 10-game slate, you have too many options. Jason D, can you explain why having a lineup with a balanced ownership, all players between 10 to 20%, if it has lower total ownership, would be less unique than a lineup including 30% and sub 5% owned plays? Well, that's why, Jason, that's why ownership product is more indicative of uniqueness than ownership sum. Because we'll take a look right there. Remember, we saw these 3%. So only 3% of the, we take difference between some of these lineups. Let's go to, where do we see Vassal was in some, here we go. 191. Okay, this is a 190. Can I find something? Okay, let's find something close. Okay, 198. Here's the 9%. Okay. So really, the difference between these 2 lineups, right, up and down. So we have this Harden lineup, this Satoransky lineup, these 2 lineups. Who cares about the players? Don't worry about it. So this has a 7% owned guy. This has a 9% owned guy. These are going to be more unique than a lineup that's more like this. Right? Because you multiply all these numbers together. 0.22, 0.24, 0.32, 0.21. This lineup would be less unique than a lineup that has a 9% owned guy, a 3% owned guy. Even though the sum, because you're playing chalkier players. Because look at this lineup. Satoransky, Halliburton, Brown, Kevin Porter Jr., 7% owned Marcus Morris. These the 7% owned and the 12, these 2 make up for, you can play all the chalk at this point. Multiplying it all together. If you're playing all, let's say up over here, where the lowest owned guy is 15%, there's going to be less leverage. There are going to be more combinations of these players. Not as a whole. This may be a unique lineup. You may not be duplicated. But you may see more Brown, Giannis, Satoransky lineups. But you're not going to see as many that have Marcus Morris in it. Or David Vassal, this type of lineup. This is going to have more leverage, even though the sums may be close to each other. This is why I say that ownership sum is not the be-all, end-all. If anything, ownership product would be much more. But we don't show ownership product. So that's why you can't just go that's why using this as the blunt tool of, I just have to put in max ownership. You're going to miss a lot of lineups that actually have more leverage, even though the sum is higher. It's playing 50% owned guy, 50% owned guy, 1% owned guy. Has more leverage than 30% owned guy, 30% owned guy, 30% owned guy. 30 plus 30 plus 30 is 90. 50 plus 50 plus 1 is 101. Yet the sum of 101 is actually a much higher leverage lineup than the 90 because you have that 1% owned player there. Even though the other 2 are mega stupid chalk. I hope that explains it better. Let's see. Michael Lingenfelter, thoughts on last night's slate? Oh, yeah, we didn't even talk about yesterday's slate, right? The Moses Brown slate. He went off. Thoughts on last night's slate? If you knew ahead of time Moses Brown was going to be 80% owned in a single entry GPP and the best lineup without him gave up 10 points in median projection, would you still have played him? Last night, yeah, probably. Moses Brown projected extremely well for 3,500. Poku's, like someone like Pokashevsky, he was someone I would more likely have not played. You can see Petty Theft did that. Like to me yesterday, I did not mind Satoransky or Brown. Quickly is someone like at 38% owned, no problem. Get rid of. Let's see. It's just the context of the slate. It's like no one had a better value than him, and the center position was fairly weak to begin with. Some people play like Nathan Knight in the power forward spot. I wasn't a big fan of that. But yeah, Moses Brown, 51 points for 3,500. I think you needed him. You needed Moses Brown. I mean, obviously we had Capella out, so like Collins, Gallinari crushed. He started. People didn't take that too much into account. Shai, I mean, OKC got blown out, right? So Shai didn't even play the last rotation. Okie doke, let me go through some stuff here. I may have to pop out early. Typically, there's a much shorter show on Wednesdays. I got a meeting with the lineup HQ team. Right? We're going to have some new stuff for MLB. We're going to have some new stuff for MLB. New stuff for MLB. We got some stacking tools, some new stacking. I'm testing some stuff out. You'll see. Do I want to give up the goods if it doesn't work? Because then you'll be upset that we tested it and it didn't work out right, so we didn't include it yet. But there'll be a lot of features that I've been wanting for the past 2 or 3 years that we've been working on. It's the different, players only in stacks, group combinations for like, if you want to have like Red Sox plus the Mets in a certain percent, like it'll just do that, right? So you're not stuck with like, I stacked the Red Sox and the Yankees and they all appear in the same lineups. Like they clump together too much. So we'll have some new functionality. So you get a little bit more out of stacking in MLB, and just general upgrades. There'll be a bunch of stuff. We're working on it. We're working on it. It's coming out in a week or two, right? We got baseball coming up soon. Derek Hardy, the bat, that's on sale now. You get that now. You get it for like 6 months. It's ridiculous how cheap he charges for that. It's ridiculous for 6 months. I think it's like $300. You get what the best projections in the industry, hands down, by far, no questions asked. The RG projections are good. Jamito's projections are good, but even he will admit that there's no better projection system for MLB than Cardi's bat. So if you that's what I use. Okay, I eat my own dog food. It's not my dog food. It's Derek Cardi's dog food, but I eat his dog food. I don't mind. So go pick that up. Go get a RotoGrinders premium subscription. Hit the link in the description below, in the podcast description. It's everywhere. $10 off your first month. Get the combo premium. So you get NBA as well as MLB, as well as PGA and MMA and soccer and whatever you want. All the sports other than NASCAR. Stevie's package is its own separate thing because Stevie does nutso stuff for NASCAR. He's like in the pit. Like he goes to the racetrack, he's talking to the people. Like, I mean, I don't think you could get a better package than that. So that has to be separate, I guess. So you could do that. Michael Lingenfelter says, tell him to add up smash percentage in builds. I think it's maybe smash product. Would that be better than adding it up? But yeah, no, I would agree with that. I mean, that would be somewhat useful. Most of the time, I'm building lineups with players that have significant enough smash percentages anyway. Like I'm excluding the garbage. Like on today's slate, it's not like I'm going to have much of the Isaac Okoro in my lineups. I'm probably just going to exclude him, so I don't even have to worry about having someone that's like that lowly projected, right? Less likely, Cody Zeller right now, 4% smash. Like most likely, I just exclude him from my builds. I think that's the best way of doing it. So once you have at least a whole bunch of players that you don't mind rostering that have a decent enough smash percentage, then adding it all up to me doesn't matter. I care at that point. I just care about the medians and the ownership sums. But yes, it would be useful. Yes, to some extent. Alex Santi says, I did nothing but optimize with the bat for cash games in 2020 and I had a 58% win rate in head-to-head. Yeah, there you go. You're profitable. You're profitable right there. I mean, I'm going to be doing the same thing that I'm doing for basketball for baseball, okay? I'm just telling you. So right now in basketball, using the RG projections, play 232 total slates across 3 sites. 56% win rate. 7.8% daily ROI, a net of $18,646 on a starting bankroll of $20,000. I'll be doing the same exact thing using the bat for baseball. I even set up, see, I have a blank spreadsheet right here. Like just I'm waiting for the first, doing the same exact thing. While I'm doing it for basketball also. So it's going to be a pain in the ass. And like I said before, for NBA GPPs, like once baseball comes around, basketball GPPs are over for me. I can't do this whole. It's getting ridiculous. Especially the last couple of weeks of the NBA season. Like no, I'll deal with MLB. MLB's I enjoy MLB GPPs so much more than basketball. Trey McRae says when calculating a 3% would be 0.03. That would be correct. That would be mathematical equivalent. 3% is 0.03. Yes. BFAM asks, honestly, in your opinion, I always give my honest opinion. How important is ownership projections when it comes to higher owned players scoring the same as lower owned players at different price ranges? I think it's very important. Why wouldn't it be important? I don't understand like the concept of this question. Ownership projections are always important. Right? I mean, our initial ownership projections right now, which don't mean anything, trust me. In general, they mean something, but not at 11:30 in the morning. The difference between Jaylen Brown being 32.9% owned and 16% owned is drastic. Is Tyrese Halliburton going to be 30% owned? If he ends up being 18% owned, that's drastic. Is Drew Eubanks really going to be 23% owned? Probably not. I don't see it. Well, why is Drew Eubanks? What's going on in San Antonio today? Are we just that starved for value? What's going on in San Antonio? Why are we coming up with Drew Eubanks having such a big projection? Did I miss something? 22 minutes, 20. Yeah, I guess he's been playing. And he's 3,100. You're right. Oh, God, is it Drew Eubanks Day? He's been playing 18 to 23 minutes. He's been playing. He does stuff. It's not like he's look, he has 4 assists, 5 rebounds. He does stuff. It's against Chicago, and that's a pretty good matchup. So is that the reason? 18-minute Drew Eubanks is going to be in the show. Does he even show up in the optimal? No. Don't even have to worry about it. Maybe I don't have to worry about it for the optimal, but geez. Drew Eubanks. Okay. Maybe he's a thing. Maybe he's not. It's kind of weird to see. I mean, that's why the ownership projections matter. Is Drew Eubanks going to be 24% owned? Or is he going to be 10% owned? It's going to matter. Those things matter. Because what ends up happening is that you think a guy's going to, based on I think a guy's going to be 40% owned, and then you leverage off of that, and he ends up being 10% owned, and now you screwed up all your lineups. Or you think a guy's going to be 5% owned and ends up being 30% owned. It's like, oh, I played the sneaky leverage play at 5% owned, and it's 30% owned. It's like now the leverage is gone. You don't have any leverage in the lineups anymore. Owners' projections are I'd say almost more important than player projections. In MLB, probably. I know I said, Derek Hardy's projections are great, but I mean, the ownership matters even more. Samuel Johnson. How do you go about building your cash lineup? Also, do you believe DK cash is harder? Your results say that. Cash games typically have stronger players. Because typically casual players aren't that thrilled about doubling their money or playing head-to-heads. They're putting their money in dollar in a dream. Can I win 100,000 type of contests? And DK's pricing is much sharper, and the lobby is a little bit stronger than FanDuel or Yahoo. But how do I win? How do I make my cash game lineup? I'll show you. Okay. So you load up lineup HQ. Load up lineup HQ. Let's see what the projections say. As of 7:57 a.m. right now. Doesn't mean anything right now. You see all these numbers here? These are the median projections. And if you want the lineup HQ to solve the problem, it's called a knapsack problem. How do I jam in as much of this median projection to one lineup for 50,000 salary? Well, you got to go to lineup preview and hit this button called optimize. There you go, 284.22. If we built 10 lineups, you'd see 284.22, 283.56, 283.41. Me, I play the top one. So this is how I make my cash lineup. Done. Takes me about 4 seconds. Takes me longer to actually tap it into my phone or click it onto the screen. So as of right now, my cash lineup would be Harden, Halliburton, Brown, Green, Tice, Satoransky, Jaylen Brown, Kevin Porter. As of right now. But I mean, the projections team updates these projections all throughout the day. That's my cash lineup. Now, if you wanted to play the second one, if you wanted to play Satoransky, Halliburton, Brown, Giannis, Eubanks, Murray, Brown, Porter, this is fine. This is also a good cash. This is fine cash line. This is another good cash line. They had the top 10. Pick whichever one you want. You want to play Rashawn Holmes? Yeah, there you go. Here's Rashawn Holmes, Will Barton, Drew Eubanks. Play this one. The difference in medians is 283 to what? You're giving up a point. A point in 284 points. So not much difference. And there you go. That's what you play. That's what I do. That's math. I'm using the math. Don't even look at the names. I don't even care. Is the projection model good? Yes. Do I trust the team that puts in the minutes allocations and usage? Yes. Okay, so what do the numbers say? There's the top median lineup. Play it. That's it. That's cash games. Because you don't have to win first in a double up. Give me the top half. That's it. I'm done. I double. Let me win more than 55% of my head-to-heads that night. I'm done. I'm profitable. There you go. If you trust the model and you trust the people behind it, why wouldn't you just use the numbers? That's what the numbers say to do. So that's what the numbers are. And you take a look, Draftkings not doing well this year. FanDuel crushing. Same projections. But obviously on FanDuel, you rarely have to play like the $3,500 guys. The thin, the guys that are only going to play 20 minutes and they project well, but their range of outcomes is going to be very wide. You don't have to do that much on FanDuel. And the competition is a little bit weaker. Same thing for Yahoo. DraftKings, much sharper. But last year, using this methodology, DraftKings was like a 65% win rate using this methodology. Okay? Now, right now, this year, it's 51%. But last year was 65%. That's variance. So what has changed? Not much. That's what variance is. That's a largely... we're talking about a sample size of 82 slates, 77 slates, 73 slates. Over a sample size last year of 160 slates, it was 65% on DraftKings. So you add that together to the 82, it's that over the year and a half period, it looks pretty good. Just over the past 82 slates, it's been a little bit above break even. Just still within the rake. I mean, really, it's still within the rake. Because remember, it's like 10 to 12% of that you have to make up just to get there. So this is even above the rake. To me, cash games are. I mean, everything in DFS to me is math. But cash games is much more of a solved game. I don't know if you want to call it a solved game. It's not. I think you're going to play it more so like a solved game than you would for GPPs. I think cash games are not interesting. Other than can I use good projections and make money for the least amount of work and least amount of time? Yeah, sure. If I could do that, sure, give it to me. Why the hell not? Let's see. Any other questions before we get out of here? Alex Santi says the last 3-4 weeks of NBA DFS is insufferable. Yes, it is. The last 3 or 4 current weeks. I mean, it's been like this all season. It's going to be even worse. Oh, I can't. When people are sitting and teams are tanking, it's going to be horrific. Let's see. Go through the YouTube chat. Jason D, if your ownership product is way below 1 for the desired 20 size, are you giving up too much, or should you not use that measurement as much for a plus EV lineup? As long as it's below 1, you're fine. I mean, most of the lineups you make are going to be below 1. The further below 1, the more that it should be used for a large field tournament. But I mean, most of the time you're not giving up. You should be giving up 30, 40 points in projection. Like on any slate for any reason. So the likelihood of it being so ridiculously low owned like that, you're likely not going to be playing those lineups anyway. You're going to be giving up 10 points, 15 points, 20 points. Depends on the slate. A lot of times you're only giving up 5 or 6 points. If you're only giving up 5 or 6 points in median projection, your ownership product is not going to be like 0.000003. It's not going to be that low. They're going to be owned. These players are going to be owned. Jordan, after answering the questions about how to build your cash lineup, I understand that you answered with you choosing the top optimal lineup, but it can't be exactly that, right? No, it is exactly that. It's exactly that. If too many people do the same thing, what happens how do you chop the prize? You're not chopping any prize. You're playing double ups. There's no prizes to chop. You would never do this for GPPs. You would never do. You don't want duplication in GPPs. When you're playing 124-man double up, first place, if I'm playing 124-man, $5 double up, what does first place get? $10. What does second place get? $10. What does third place get? $10. Top, 55, I think? 54? Get $5. Win $5. Get $10. So if 20 people have the same lineup, who gives a shit? It's not a progressively paid out structure. Duplication, what do I care about? The only time I would care about duplication is if my lineup was duplicated more times than the payout spots. So if they paid out 54 and my lineup's duplicated 65 times, then now my EV starts going down. Because I can't possibly double, right? The highest you could make is like $9.11 or something like that. So yeah, maybe at that point. But other than that, you don't care. Who cares? Don't care whatsoever. When you use whatever projection source you want and play the top optimal lineup, perfectly fine. Go do it. Mathematically, that would be, if the projection model is good, that would be the top line. That would be the highest median lineup. Mathematically, if we played the slate out 1,000,000 times, that would perform the best in those types of contests. People don't get it. That's what I'm doing. All of this is what I'm doing. I've not done anything differently. Do you think I care A bunch of people may have the same lineup. No, I'm fine. Look at how much. There you go. Don't care. With good contest selection. Most of the time, I'm not playing small field double-ups. I'm playing the larger field double-ups, not the multi-entry ones. I'm playing a ton of head-to-heads. And am I tying with a lot of people in head-to-head? Yeah. Get auto-matched or whatever, and people, yeah, sure, we have the same line to get your rake back. Okay, whatever. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes it happens even if you're not using the same projection source. Sometimes the pricing is so ridiculous that everyone's on the same lineup anyway, pretty much. People are concerned about do it. I'm doing it. I'm showing you. Well, if everyone did it, then let everyone's not doing it. Fucking wait. I'll be here. I'll be here playing the mathematically optimal lineup in cash games until I see that that out of 124 entries, that 90 of them have the same line. Okay, that's not happening. So what do I care? Let you. I'm going to move off, so I'm not going to be on the lineup that 25 players are playing. Okay, great. Be on a worse lineup. Good luck to you. It's fine. You could do it. That could be the better lineup. You're right. It could be the better lineup. The reason I'm doing what I'm doing is because I want no decisions. This is the benchmark. I penned it, the benchmark strategy. It's like putting money in an index fund on the stock market. You're not trading back and forth. You're not doing anything. You're just putting it in. Can you beat that? If you can't beat that, you might as well just do that. So that's what I'm doing. Playing the RG projections as is. That's it. End of story. Over the course of a full season. How much money do I make? Because I didn't have to make any decisions. Now, for instance, if you wanted to, like we have like one, let's say 1, 2, 3, let's say the top 6 lineups are all pretty good. Or I mean, the differences between them are marginal. So let's say on a certain slate, you wanted to play the second one or the third one. You thought, I want to play one that doesn't have Drew Eubanks in it. Even though the top one has Drew Eubanks in it. You could do that. The difference between these lineups, median-wise, is so marginal. You'll probably do just as well with the second one or the third one or the sixth one. But the thing is which one are you going to pick today? Well, I like the one with this one. Now, once you say the words, I like this one over that one, you're putting in your own biases, right? Well, I can't play Drew Eubanks in cash games. Even I know it's the optimal lineup, but I can't blame it. Okay, well, that's a bias. But if you know that over the long run, the first lineup and the sixth lineup are pretty much so close that what does it matter? Why don't, instead of, if you didn't want to just constantly play the top one, and you wanted to play another one instead, get a die, get a 6-sided die, and 5 minutes before lock, you run the top 6 lineups, and then you roll the die. If it comes up 4, then you play the fourth lineup. If it comes up 1, you play the first lineup. If it comes up 6, you play the sixth lineup. Still takes the decisions out of your hands. So you're still not biased. You're still game theory optimal to some extent. You're randomly choosing the top. You could do a random number generator. I mean, you could just go to random.org, put in, 6, 1 to 6, and whatever it says. You could do it that way. But the point of what I'm doing is to remove bias. Remove all decision, remove all bias. It's all math. It's all projections. That's it. Whole season. End of story. How much money do I make? Because then I have to weigh that with, if I made the decisions every single day and spent the time, would I have made more than that or less than that? Well, it turns out last year I made less than that. So if I made less than the benchmark, why didn't I just use the benchmark? So I'm using the benchmark. So that's what I'm doing. Makes sense logically. But a lot of people will look at this and go, this takes the game or the skill or the whatever out of DFS. What do I care? I care about money. I just care about money. I don't play this game for fun. It's fun making money. That's why I do it. So that's why you have to understand all the things that I talk about on this show, as well as in the course, theoryofdfs.com, 15-hour audio masterclass. It's me in your pocket. All these concepts are in there. So if you want a nice little structured education, a 15-hour like audio seminar of all the concepts in game theory for any sport, it doesn't matter what sport you play. If you want that, go to theoryofdfs.com. But it all comes through. It all comes through that the one and only goal. There's only one goal: is to make the most amount of money for the least amount of work. That's my only concern. That to me, that's what I'm optimizing for. The reason, if you think in your head, what is the reason why you play DFS? Now, it's perfectly fine to be a recreational player. Perfectly fine. Oh, I play because it's fun. I play because I like sports. I play because I'll watch a game and it gives me something to root for. All those are fine. Fine, good. Have all the fun you want. I only have one answer to that question: is to make money. If it wasn't for the fact I could make money at this, I would not be doing it. Right? That's the reason I don't play $50 season-long leagues with my friends or something like that. How fun is that? Put any time into that. I'd rather just sit and I'd rather sleep later than put any time into waivers on Tuesdays or something. No, I don't want to do that. So that's why I consider the David Sklansky quote. It's a poker writer. And he said that, when we play, we must realize before anything else that we are out to make money. So everything I talk about is how to maximize making money. If you don't find that fun, that's fine. Play as fun as you'd like. But I find making money to be fun. So everything is geared towards that. How do you get the even more edge? How do you could give up some edge if it makes it easier. Like that's what I'm doing for cash games. Like I'm not playing cash games. I'm just input. I'm the human monkey inputter. But the projections say this. I put this in, and at 8 o'clock I'll run it again, see if anything changes. Put that in. Throughout the day, I have to enter all the contests and contest select properly. But outside of that, it's just like if I could do it this way with the minimal amount of work and make $20,000 to $30,000, why wouldn't I? I mean that's really what it comes down to. Why wouldn't I? Well, you could make 40,000 if you put. Well, I could make 30,000 by barely doing anything, right? So why not? Until that changes, why wouldn't I? That's the point that I'm making. Is that the right way to play DFS? What is the right way to play DFS? The right way to play DFS is to make the most amount of money. I mean, I don't see it any other way. But that's why we get into arguments here. That's why there's debates. People look at a lot of the content that I do and go, like, you don't get, but it's about sports. It's like, it's not about sports. It's about making money. Just like the stock market. There are plenty of people that do technical analysis and look at charts. They don't even know what the company does. But they'll analyze a whole bunch of stuff and go, in the next 7 days, it's going to go up 3 points. And they're very accurate when it comes to that. They could analyze 100 stocks and go, in the next month, these are the ranges of how it's going to be, the probabilities. I go, what does that company do? I have no idea. It's the same type of thing. Joe Stroop, why don't you play more cash games then if it's free money? I'd play like $4,000 a night. Dude, look how much money I do play. There are going to be swings and there's going to be variance. So you shouldn't take your entire life savings and play it on one slate. That's stupid. Play 10% of your bankroll per day of this bankroll, which is still only 10% of my actual bankroll. You have to think in terms of large sample sizes. You could lose in cash games 5 days in a row, 7 days in a row, 10 days in a row. You could. I'm going to play half my bankroll. Yeah, you're going to go broke. And obviously, the higher stakes that you go, the more skillful players that you get. Right? Do I want to play against McLovin and Empire Maker in $1,000 head-to-heads? No. The edge there is minimal, if there is any. So no, I'm playing a lot more. I'm playing in DraftKings. I could play. I can't play the $3 and $1 games. So I'm playing a lot more at the $5. Playing $5 head-to-heads, $5, $10. Adding all those up as much as possible before I get into hundreds and 200s. On FanDuel, I'm not a restricted player because I never played there that often. So I'm playing so many of the $1 and $2 50-50s and avoiding the higher stakes, sharper players. Because as you move up in stakes, you're going to find sharper players. So yeah, can I play 20? Yeah, I could play $50,000 on a slate, but I mean, 45,000 of that is going to be against like the best players in the world. Where if you had an edge, it's going to still be barely, you're not going to even be able to beat the rake. So what's the point? So yeah, once you get up to those levels, yeah, then your ROI will go down. Could possibly be negative. But the lower stakes, even if the mid stakes, even $5, $25, $50, if your projection model is good. If your projection model sucks, then your lineups are going to suck. Right. Apocalypse says, right. People are asking this very similar questions. It's that people just don't do it. Right. You're right. It amazes me. It amazes me so much. I'm teaching you everything that I know. I'm not holding anything back. There's no nothing. I'm showing you exactly how I play. I've made plenty of money. Show you how the top players play. I show you how to use lineup HQ. I show you all the concepts. I have a course. There's nothing else. You just have to do it. You just have to actually understand the concepts, understand probability, understand statistics. Get away from the sports stuff. Oh, this guy could dribbles this way, and he does that. And I don't watch the games. And just do it. So many people don't. Or they try to do it, and after 2 days, they're like, well, this didn't work. It's like 2 days? Dude, you'll see me during the baseball season, okay? During the baseball season. We're going to play like 160, 180, 200 slates. I'm going to lose in GPP, like out of the 180, I'm going to lose like 170 of them. Like every day, in GPP, right. Every day. Oh, stack this team lost, stack that team lost, but you'll see like 2 or 3 days out of the slates, out of the entire season, where I make 5 or 6 figures. Where it's like bink 100,000 or bink 30,000. But I'm playing the consistent strategy over the entire course of the season. When the Marlins go off, I'll be there. Right? When the Tigers go off, I'll be there. Right? When the Pirates put up 15 runs, I'll probably be there. Right? I live for that. Vomit stacks. So it's not going to happen often, but when it does, I'm going to be in position to win a lot of money. But it also means I'm going to lose money at the 90+% of the time. So a lot of people start, and I lost a week straight in GPP. Someone goes, so? Cry me a river. I've done that so many times before. What are you talking about? You're going to lose most times. And then they give up, and then they lie. I guess I'm doing something wrong. Like maybe you're not. You're most likely doing something fine. Just you need a large sample size to realize your expected value. Okay. Going through the YouTube chat a little bit some more. Yeah, I got to get out of here. We got a big lineup HQ meeting coming up. Hopefully we'll get some of these goodies. Lineup HQ goodies for MLB coming out to you in 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, a week from now. When they play? They're playing in 14 days or so. Can't wait for MLB. And we'll be talking about MLB. We'll be talking about MLB on this show. It won't be just NBA. In fact, I may more want to talk about MLB more than NBA at this point, especially with obviously, like the late news, late in the season, it's like we're gonna see questionable tags on everyone. It's like, how do we preview this at 11 in the morning? We can't do it. That's why you have to tune into Grinders Live, right? Grinders Live tonight is with the OGs. Okay, so we got a Beer Makers fan, we got Noto, we got Chop, and that'll be coming up at 5:30. 5:30 Eastern on YouTube, and then crunch time for premium members. You get that premium membership. Hitting that link in the description below, get $10 off your first month. And we got a big slate tonight, and who knows what news is going to come out that totally changes the slate, totally flips the slate on its head. We don't know, but we'll figure it out tomorrow for another edition of the DFS pregame show here on RotoGrinders.com.